E3 2017 is in full swing, and after getting a look at what Microsoft has, now it's Sony's turn. So we're breaking down some of the best and biggest surprises and moments from Sony and PlayStation's E3 2017 press conference. Let's get started off with number 10, with Horizon Zero Dawn's expanded single-player DLC, Frozen Wilds. Believe it or not, this is really the indication of a very tame press conference from Sony compared to the last 2 years. Because with this, it really seems to be what Sony has for the rest of the year in terms of heavy-hitting stuff, along with Lost Legacy, which they also showed off. But either way, I don't know about you, more Horizon Zero Dawn is good. And when it's single player content, I'm all about it. And it looks like once again you're playing as Aloy. Don't really know exactly in the context of where this exists within the story, whether it's before or after. But it looks like a new area, new characters, new enemy types, and basically just more of what everybody liked about Horizon Zero Dawn in the first place. But at number 9, something that was nice to see was some more Days Gone gameplay. Quite a bit actually. And this time around it seems like less of a tech demo and more of an actual game. We got to see all the mechanics at work, driving a motorcycle, talking to characters, NPCs revolving around the world, a little bit of open world stuff, some exploration, some incredible looking graphics, and lots of stealth and combat that feels very much like Horizon Zero Dawn and a little bit of The Last of Us, in which you kind of just kill men with your bare hands without breaking eye contact in a very realistic manner. But not only that, we got to see a lot of cool implementation of the enemy characters that are kind of like zombies but not exactly zombies, and how you can mess with the environment and use them to your advantage to take down enemies and enemy encampments. It actually seems like some really cool stuff. It all looks pretty good honestly from Sony Bend Studios, but unfortunately it doesn't look like we're gonna get to play it this year. It looks like it's gonna be a 2018 game. But speaking of 2018 games and a surprise announcement, we got Monster Hunter World. This is a completely new, rebuilt Monster Hunter game that looks a lot like a Monster Hunter game in sense of armor and weapons, but very much more on the cutting edge of graphics with a lot of different creature designs this time around. We did get to see a lot of atmosphere and gameplay stuff with some emphasis on gadgets, mobility, trapping using nets, disguising yourself, and cooking, and they have confirmed crafting as well. Some of the finer print details are pretty interesting too. It'll have lots of online co-op stuff with multiplayer and drop-in, drop-out co-op. And with online co-op, people from the West will be able to play with Japanese players for the first time ever, which is kind of cool. Obviously, Monster Hunter has a huge and gigantic fan base, and for one of their big new games to get put on a PlayStation console is pretty cool, and it's going to open it up to a bigger, more mainstream audience this time, and I'm honestly curious to see how people react. But at number 7, one of my favorite reveals was a Shadow of Colossus Remastered. Yes, they're actually calling it a remaster. We checked the fine print, although it looks very much like a remake. This is being put together by Blue Point Games, the guys behind the Nathan Drake collection and even the PS3 versions of Ico and Shadow of Colossus. So they have a good pedigree, and we did get a lot of shots of the environment with things looking heavily more detailed this time around and pretty damn incredible. I'm very curious to see what engine it's running in. Maybe it's running in the Last Guardians engine, but honestly it kind of looks a little better. My one biggest request is I really hope to God they don't change the music. Some things you just shouldn't touch because they're just so good. But at number 6, we got kind of a quick look at Call of Duty World War II gameplay. This has actually been labeled as multiplayer gameplay, this trailer, but honestly I couldn't have told you that when I saw it. Whether it's multiplayer or single player though, the emphasis here was shooting dudes, and it looked really good. It looks very much like Call of Duty. I really like that the trailer editing emphasized the M1 Garand sound, you know, that reload sound. It's like, yeah, you know that sound. It looks like fun, but obviously it looks like Call of Duty. It looks like what we expected, but it looks like high quality, and honestly I can't wait for Activision to show off more of that stuff. It's easy to be cynical about Call of Duty, and I get a lot of the complaints, but I also like shooting stuff. And at number 5, speaking of cynical, I did not expect Sony to really talk about PlayStation VR at all. I expected them to kind of leave it down in the dumps and forget about it like they did with the Vita. And no, I'll never let that go. But PlayStation VR did actually get quite a bit of the spotlight here. First, we got to look at The Inpatient, which is a very interesting horror type experience that looks very much influenced by Shutter Island. We also got a Final Fantasy 15 VR fishing experience, which looks like absolute bullshit. We also got a sci-fi game called Star Child, and a first-person squad-based shooter thing called Bravo Team, which honestly, as an old school Rainbow Six and SOCOM fan, seems right up my alley. And we also got to look at a third-person perspective VR game, which I think is a really cool way to play VR games, and it's called Moss. It looks like you're a little Stuart Little Mouse warrior with a sword and a leaf gauntlet, and I don't really know the deal here, but it looks cool, it looks creative, and I'm looking forward to jumping in. But at number 4, speaking of VR, a big surprise was Skyrim on PSVR. It's going to be releasing in November 2017, and it's not super surprising considering Bethesda's big initiatives into VR with both Doom VFR and Fallout 4 VR, and it looks very much like they're doing it again with Skyrim. You get a full, entire, giant-ass RPG completely playable in VR. You can finally say goodbye to your family, but you'll probably get too sick to stay in it that long. Either way, though, it looks pretty badass and damn impressive. But at number 3, we got an extended look at Quantic Dream's Detroit Become Human, which honestly looks quite different than the last time we saw it, but that's because we are getting a different character's perspective. Seemingly in the game, you get to play as multiple characters, and this time around we got to play as a robot man being portrayed by real-world actor Jesse Williams. The only thing I've ever seen him in is Grey's Anatomy, and I've only seen the commercials. But this very much looks like a Quantic Dream game with lots of story-based stuff and quick-time events. But this time around, they're really emphasizing the sandbox element and how you really create your own story and so many different branching paths. Of course, honestly, I'll believe that when I see it, but what we did get was pretty exciting here, and the concept of androids working the streets while everybody else was at home enjoying Christmas because they're not robot slaves, and a whole robot uprising rebellion type of thing just seems kind of interesting and just good old sci-fi. Personally, I'm a big fan of these games. I know a lot of people like to shit on Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, but I'm in. But at number 2, let's talk about the new God of War game. We got an extended look with some bits of gameplay, but a lot more of an emphasis on story. And it still seems like Kratos' seemingly new son definitely has a very interesting and mysterious origin that a lot of people have kind of internet sleuthed and figured it out. Maybe, maybe not, but the game is definitely hyping up this secret. We got to see a lot of cool new stuff with the combat, namely just more of it. We also got to see the boy helping you out in combat and working together with Kratos. Also, there's this really cool shield ability attack, a shield that extends and flings out of your arm for contextual attacks. Seems really cool, and the game just seems to also just have a giant emphasis on story, which I am all about, especially with how emotive Kratos seems to be. The graphics here are pretty damn incredible. But speaking of incredible graphics, at number 1, we got a huge lengthy look at some Spider-Man gameplay. This is a PlayStation 4 exclusive Marvel Spider-Man game developed by Insomniac that was teased last year, and it's releasing in 2018. Now, I'm a Spider-Man psycho. I go over all this stuff, I pour over the comics, the movies, and I've played all the games. A lot of this stuff seems pretty derivative of the previous Amazing Spider-Man games based off of the movies. But what I will say here, though, is that this time around it looks high quality and well done, with way better mechanics, especially the combat with the animations that look absolutely incredible and a lot of gadgets you can use and interact with the environment. But web zipping and web rush seems to return in a pretty familiar manner, but web swinging looks damn awesome. We got little hints of what the story is going to be with seemingly the Hand, Kingpin, and an Osborn mare. And of course, you probably saw we got a little Easter egg tease of Miles Morales. Will he be playable in the game? We hope so. That'd be cool. But honestly, it looks like exactly what I expected from a good Spider-Man game. It takes all the things from previous Spider-Man games but makes them 10 times better because Insomniac is just a good developer most of the time. This is definitely at the top of my most anticipated list, so expect more gameranx videos about Spider-Man. Those are the things that we were most excited about, but in some quick bonus mentions, I did mention it earlier, but Lost Legacy did get an extended trailer that really kind of fleshes things out and what the game actually is, and like what exactly Chloe is doing in the story. We also got another look at Destiny 2 and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and Capcom announced that a story demo is available to download right now. That's kind of a nice surprise. But those were some of the biggest surprises and moments from PlayStation's E3 press conference 2017. We're here checking out all this stuff, so we're going to keep you informed. But I definitely want to know what things caught your eye the most so we can tailor some more content in the future to you guys. What did Sony wow you with, and what did they disappoint you with? Like I said, I thought this year was a little bit more tame compared to previous years, but I definitely want to hear what you're thinking. But you know, if you had a good time with this video, maybe learned a thing or two, clicking that like button helps us out a ton. And subscribing if you're new is a good idea because we put out stuff every single day, including E3 content since we're here. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.